You're restoring me piece by piece.
So today I'm going to give you guys tips and ideas to consider before marrying someone outside of your culture. What's up, my restored beauties? Welcome back to my channel. Before we start this video, I would like to apologize for my last video that you guys had to see my crying face, but thank you for everybody who's responded on the comments below. I really appreciate it. Anyway, I'm thankful that she's in school and that I'm also able to focus in this channel, because if I want to be able to post consistently, and that takes time, you know, from filming to editing to posting, so that takes a lot of time. So with my kid being in school, I guess it's beneficial. It's a blessing, double blessing. So anyway, before we get started in this on this video, on today's material, on today's topic, I would like for you to give this video a thumbs up and also subscribe if you haven't already, and also hit the bell button so you are this way you're notified every time I upload a new video. And yes, I'm going to try and upload every single day. I'm gonna try and give my best. So go and subscribe to my vlogging channel, which I will link down in the description below. And there I post photography related materials and daily vlogs, things that I do, places that I go, just basic daily life. Yeah. Let's get into today's topic. 10 things to consider before marrying someone outside of your culture. As many of you know, I am from Eastern Europe. I am an Albanian, and I'm married a Puerto Rican who is born and raised in New York. So he's basically an American, but his origin is, or his background is, Puerto Rican. And we've been married 9 years, so I think I have a lot to say, kind of, about interracial marriages. I can't say that word. Anyway, let's move on. I know I got all this energy before my sinuses hit here. So today I'm going to give you guys tips and ideas to consider before marrying someone outside of your culture. Marrying someone outside your culture is very beautiful, but mostly challenging, because it may be true that love brought you both together, but each one of you brings a package behind, you know, backpack, into that marriage, into that relationship. Because when I was a little kid, I always said, oh, I'm going to marry a Mexican or a Latino that have dark skin, so I can have chocolate looking kids, you know. And because my mentality was influenced by a lot of Spanish telenovelas that I used to watch. I still do, but you know, not as much now. But I didn't know better, you know. I just thought that, oh yeah, I want to fall in love and speak Spanish, that love language, you know. And I didn't think about the whole, you know, what else comes with it, you know. So before you make that big decision, that big step in your life, watch this video, because it might save your marriage or make it last longer. Tip number 1 to consider before marrying someone outside your culture: you as a couple need to discuss, share each other's beliefs, individual values, because it will help you clarify the expectations and identify areas that might need attention or work to be done before you get married. This way you will recognize areas that you need to adapt, or areas that you might have to compromise. So tip number 1, discuss each other's individual values and beliefs. Keep that in mind. That was tip number 1. And it all means is, you know, you learn about each other's faith, talk about your background, your expectations, what you expect, you know, what you want your kids to be, the role of faith in your marriage, and how you want it to be exercised, how you want your kids to exercise it and practice it. So have an open mind and be respectful. Number 2, to consider before marrying someone outside your culture: what does she or he thinks about family traditions? Will he or she want to follow those family traditions and those customs and exercise them with the kids? Family traditions can be good, but there's some who are not worth fighting for, so keep in mind that as well. You can make your own family traditions without offending anyone. You just have to find a common ground. Number 3 to consider before marrying someone outside your culture: household responsibilities. These are very important to consider and set them ahead of time, because it will save you a lot of headaches. In my culture, women are expected to do things around the house without asking for help. So they automatically know that that is your duty, that's your responsibility. You don't ask your husband for help. In most families, I believe that's how it is. That's the mentality. I don't mind doing them. I just appreciate when my husband offers to help or does them as a surprise. Just because you married someone out of love, and now because you love them, you just throw away your traditions, your customs, you know. Number 4 to consider before marrying someone outside your culture: just because you both speak English or the same language now, but where you both come from 2 different languages, it doesn't mean that the body language, the facial expressions will be delivering you the message that you expect them to. You know, like sometimes when my husband speaks to me, and although English is not my primary language, you know, as I'm speaking right now, sometimes it's hard for me to convey my message in a way that so he believes it, or in a way that he wants me to convey it, because my facial expressions or my body language, it's still hard for me to command it and just act the way people who are born with English would express themselves, you know. For example, we know that, you know, for example, when we speak, you know, we are very passionate. You would think that we're actually fighting all the time, you know, but that's not. It's just the way we speak, that's how it is. And the way we deliver the message or the words, you actually think that we want to pick a fight, and it's not true, you know. It's just that the way we talk is, you know, it's like, you know, it's just a lot of passion, a lot of body language, a lot of hand motion, you know. So you have to consider that. You have to take that into consideration, that your spouse, just because you were born in America and you speak English and you're just like everybody else here, maybe your spouse isn't, and she or he is not delivering the message the way you want to, you know. And you always like have this thought, oh my god, what does he think, or what does she think? Why is she acting like that? Why is her body language like that? Why is her face like that, you know? So you always have to consider that person was not born and raised here. They're not from the same, you're not from the same culture, you know. They're different, you know. So when you keep that in mind, you're being respectful, and you're also, you know, saving yourself a lot of headache, you know, instead of like, you know, now, oh my god, what does he or she thinks, you know. So now you're like brewing in your head, oh, you know, I see it in your body language. No, you have to understand that you both are different. You come from 2 different cultures, you know. Language in every country is delivered different, you know. Here people speak more like I told my husband when I first came, I said, I am not your sweet, and I know not to offend anyone, I know not every girl speaks like this, but I was like, I am not your Kardashian speaking low tone of voice. I'm not, you know. I might sound here, I know somebody left me a comment once and said you have a very soothing voice. I mean, I do, because I have worked with kids, but I also know that most of the time, when I talk, I'm very passionate, you know. And especially if there's a topic that I love, it just comes out, you know. And you think that boy, I'm gonna run you over or something. And it's not true. It's just the way I am raised, you know. That's the way we speak, you know. So that's how I'm gonna deliver my message. And if you find it offensive, I'm sorry. You know, so I told my husband, I'm not going to be your hi darling, hi sweetie, oh, I don't do any of that. And not to offend anyone who does that, but you know, I said to my husband, I'm not that, you know, it's just, this is how I am. So don't get offended. Acceptance and tolerance, you know, gives you peace. So keep that in mind. Let's get back now. So I may speak English, but my expression, my face expression, my hand motion, my body language might be in a different language. Keep that in mind. Tip number 5 to consider before marrying someone outside your culture. Are they willing to learn your language, your culture, learn how to cook? And if the answer is yes, then you got a good one in your hand, and keep them. Tip number 6 to consider before marrying someone outside your culture. Understand that he or she needs to see their family often, and you need to set a budget for that in order to avoid misunderstanding and fights in the future. Because they might be happy to marry you, but as the future comes, the days pass, and their family is not around, you know, especially if you're marrying someone that's across the ocean, or that's not in the US, it's not in your country, it will be harder for them if the family members that they're used to having around, it's not around anymore. And also remember, you're fulfilling a spouse spot. You are her husband, his wife, but you're not his sister, his her brother, her mother, his father, you know, his uncle. None of that. You don't fulfill the siblings or the parents spot. You only fulfill the spot of a spouse. So never say to your spouse, am I not enough? What am I here for? Don't you think I'm enough? Don't you love me? Yes, you're my spouse, not my brother, not my sister, not my mother, not my father. Number 7 to consider before marrying someone outside your culture. Talk about finances. What knowledge do you both have? Are you a spender or a saver, or a little bit of both? What's in the future plans regarding money? Do you have a history of mishandling money? Do you owe money to somebody? Does your spouse have debt, or does she or he have credit cards that are piled? Those are things to consider in talking and discussing them ahead of time. And there's nothing, and you might think that, oh, you are telling me that the person that I love, I have to come with a notebook and we both have to talk about this stuff before, because then, you know, they're so overwhelming and I might just quit and I'm not gonna marry that person. No, love never quits. You never quit. And if you're marrying somebody because you had a night with them and you're intimate and it feels all good, and now you're like, oh my god, I want to marry her, or I want to marry him, or he has money, he's gonna settle me. No, because that's all you're gonna get. Relationship, marriage is far more than that. There's things that will come up that you never even thought existed in a marriage or in a relationship, or inside of you. They will come up, and those things, it's okay to discuss ahead of time, because this way you're more prepared. You know what to expect, you know how to behave, you know how to approach, you know how to face it. You know, God will give you the strength, and it's nothing wrong to be prepared. It's better to be safe than sorry. Number 8, talk about food. Can he or she have access to her or his country food, you know, or food from his or her country? You know, is there a store that he or she can go, you know, because that affects a lot, you know. Like for me, there's a lot of European stores in the city, and we live an hour drive from the city, so we try to go at least once a month, and I stack on some European food and snacks, usually I get pickles. But I get that, and it just makes me feel closer to my family, closer to my house, you know, and it feels like, you know, I'm actually sharing something with them. And my daughter eats some, but not as much, but my husband none, you know. And in the beginning I kind of found it offensive, but because I eat anything that he has offered me, and he doesn't eat any of my food, basically most of it. He might have tried some, but no. In the beginning I used to find it very offensive, but now I've learned to just brush it off and move on, because it doesn't really affect, you know, it doesn't affect me. And there's people who actually might be really, really offensive and might think that, oh, I have no future in this marriage because my spouse doesn't really like food from my country. And I don't think that that's the reason you should cut your relationship or your marriage or leave your spouse. I don't think so, because it's not that, it is important, but it's not that important, you know. Let's just be frank about it. Also, in regards to food, you know, is she or he allowed to cook the food from her or his country in the house? So you have to talk about those things, you know. If there's people who may not want to eat pork, or you may not want to eat this, you know, oh, I want to be vegan, I want to be vegetarian, I don't eat meat, I don't want my kids to eat meat, or this and that. I'm not saying that's how I am, but I'm just saying, you know, there's couples with different dynamics and different backgrounds and mentalities, and love might be the one uniting you guys. But like I said in the beginning, we all come with a backpack, you know, and what's in that backpack needs to be open prior to marriage union, prior to saying I do. Number 9 to consider before marrying someone outside your culture is kids. Does he want kids? Does she want kids? How many kids, you know, or no kids? Or what do you guys think about kids, you know? Talk about parenting. How do you think your kids should be raised, you know? So those are the things to consider. Expectations, where both need to chip in, you know. I want you as a father to chip in into this. I want you as a mother to chip into this and this. This is your responsibility. In the end, I think mother and father both have equal responsibilities, you know. And they might be delivered in different ways, but I believe as a parent, because you both contributed to making that kid, you both have responsibilities that are equal, as important, no matter what you do. You know, you might be the one bringing the bacon home so that you have a house, so that your wife or your kid has a house and security and safety and food and clothes, but she might be the one contributing to the education, the building that child's manners, you know, make sure that child is safe, it's fed, it's clothed, and the house is clean, this and that. So the responsibilities are equally important. Number 10, remember, you are marrying someone because of who they are, not because of where they come from. But also keeping in mind, not forgetting where they come from, not ignoring where they come from, not disregarding where they come from. You're marrying them who they are as a human being, as an individual. You're marrying them because you love them, but you cannot disqualify where they come from, how they're made, how they're raised. You know, you can't just say I don't care that you're this and that. No, that is very important, because like I said, we all carry a backpack into every relationship. So that backpack needs to be open, and you need to see what's inside. Share, you know, share your ideas, your opinions, your values, your strengths, your weaknesses, your expectations. Those, if they're shared ahead, you have a base prepared for your marriage. And even if you don't have a chance to do none of that, I think if love is strong enough, it will help you face anything that will come after the moment you say I do. And also remember, when you love someone, it's easy to accept them, who they are, what they are, or where they're from. I hope that you guys enjoyed these 10 tips, ideas to consider before marrying someone outside your culture. And if you are someone, you've married someone outside your culture, kudos to you. I believe in interracial marriages, and also, but it also comes with a bigger challenge than marrying someone from your culture. You know, it's like taking, you know, it's like, oh, I got this beautiful apple and it's sweet and juicy, but you are taking a bigger bite. You know, it might choke you if you do not accept the person with whatever they come with, you know. So you have to keep those things in consideration. And above all, where there is love, I believe you have enough fuel, energy, and commitment, enough fuel and energy to commit to whatever that person comes with, and challenges that person will bring into your relationship, into your marriage, you know. And I'm pretty sure my husband can say a lot about me and me about him. And all these things I have discovered after we got married. Although I knew a lot about Latin culture and Latin background and language, but I also understood that just because you're Latin, it doesn't mean that that every Latin person is the same. You know, like Puerto Ricans are different, Mexicans are different, in many ways, you know. So I've learned that after I married my husband. And there's negatives and there's positives, but I choose to focus on the positive, because if you want something to last because of love, you will make the right choice to focus in the positive in order to make it last. I hope you guys enjoyed this, you found it helpful. If you did, please consider sharing with your friends, your family on Facebook or any social media platform that you have. And also don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell button and like this video. Be blessed. Bye.